Good afternoon, everybody. So nice to see you guys back again. We would like to welcome you to the library and for joining us to this concert, which actually marks our grand finale for the Note for Note concert series. So if you have joined us for the past several months, awesome. We love having you, and we are really excited to present today's performer. Because as you can see, this is unlike other groups that we've had before. We actually have about 32 members of the band, and it's going to be great. So one other thing before we start, as maybe in the past you've heard me say that we would like to thank the Highland Park Community Foundation, I want to let you know that the music series that we present each year, and we've been doing this for the past 10, 12 years, is thanks to the funding that we received from the Highland Park Community Foundation to present this music series. So we want to thank them for all their support, and thank you again for joining us and being part of it. And now for the main event, let's welcome the Chicago Brass Band. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone, and happy holidays, Highland Park. It's wonderful to see you all today. My name is Mark Taylor, and this is the internationally award-winning Chicago Brass Band. We're delighted that you came out this afternoon to share an afternoon of seasonal music, and we hope that this brings some joy to the day and to the coming weeks for you and your loved ones that you're here sharing the experience with. Maybe some friends and neighbors, maybe even people you haven't met yet. But that's a wonderful way to bring the community together. So this ensemble is a British-style brass band. What in the world is that? You've obviously heard brass instruments in lots of different settings. You can hear brass instruments in an orchestra, you can hear them in a concert band, in a jazz band, in a marching band. There are a lot of different places you can hear brass instruments. There are even different kinds of ensembles that call themselves brass bands, and they're not even all in agreement about what exactly that is. For example, some of you may have heard of a New Orleans style or a Dixieland brass band. You might have seen some of those on TV, or maybe even on a trip to New Orleans, right? Those are different than what we do here. There are also Civil War or historical reenactment brass bands. Brass bands that play in the style of bands that were once very common in this country around the time of the Civil War and just after. But they kind of went away for the most part for almost 100 years. And then brass banding in this style started to make a comeback. But brass bands actually originate, British-style brass bands that is, originate from, as you might have guessed, from the British Isles. And they're a product of the 19th century. During the Industrial Revolution, people were leaving small towns and farming life and moving to larger cities in search of industrial work, coal mines, steel mills, textile factories. The living was hard, the working was hard, and one of the things that they did to occupy their leisure time and to kind of give them something positive to do in their off hours was to learn music. And some of these businesses would buy complete sets of brass instruments, all the way from the cornets right down to the tubas. Buy the sets of instruments, give them to the players to learn to play. They would often hire a tutor to come in and teach the players how to play the instruments. And then they could give concerts for the community. They would stand in the town square or on the village green. And it's wonderful because brass instruments tend to be okay out of doors in chilly, wet weather. As long as it's not freezing, they're okay, right? And so they could give concerts pretty much year-round to the people of the community. And this was how the people, especially in northern, western England, Wales, in these sort of industrial environments, is often their primary source of listening to concerts would be these brass bands. That tradition has carried on right from the 19th century down to the present day. There are still around, we think, 1,500 to 2,000 brass bands scattered around in towns and villages and cities in Great Britain today. And in the 1980s, that style of music making came back across the Atlantic and made a foothold here in the US and Canada as well. We think that we have now around 150 to 200 of these types of bands here, as I said, in the US and Canada. The Chicago Brass Band has been in existence since 2002, and we are the premier British brass banding ensemble in the greater Chicagoland area. So we're proud of our legacy and our history, and we're delighted to be able to share our music with you this afternoon. That piece that we opened with was by the British composer Peter Graham. It's a very exciting work to open our holiday-themed program. We're now going to transition to a different holiday. Hanukkah is approaching quickly, and we thought we would celebrate by playing some Hanukkah music for you. This is Stephen Mullah's Rhapsody for Hanukkah. And Stephen Mullah was a longtime arranger and composer for the President's own United States military band. And he arranged this suite of selections, actually 7 different melodies in here. We'll see if you can pick them out. They are Iladim, Nearly, Simu Shemen, Hanukkah Begins Tonight, the Dreidel Song, Raisins and Almonds, and 8 Days of Hanukkah. Please enjoy Stephen Mullah's Rhapsody for Hanukkah. Thank you very much. This band does a fair amount of traveling, and we've been overseas a number of different times. I mentioned earlier about the origins of the British-style brass band in the UK, but as it has spread over here to North America, it's also made great inroads in various countries in Western Europe. So there are now big brass banding scenes in the Netherlands, Belgium, Norway, Switzerland, France, all have very big, very interested populations of people that are pursuing this unique style of music. In 2013, this ensemble traveled to the Netherlands to give concerts and compete in a brass band competition there. While we were there, we had the need for an extra tuba player, and we, through contacts within the band, we had a young woman playing with us who was from a town in Holland, and she put us in touch with a Belgian tuba player that she had known through friends, and he joined us for that entire week and played with the band. Stijn Eergeerts is his name, and if you can pronounce that in Belgian, congratulations. But he has gone on to a very illustrious career, both as a tuba player and also a composer. He's written a number of really outstanding works for the brass band medium, and has really made quite a name for himself as a composer. And this next selection is one of his pieces. We recently had the good fortune to premiere here in North America. It's called Hope. And at the time that he wrote it, he was reflecting on the fact that just about any time you can think of, you turn on the news or you reflect on things that are going on in the world around you, and it can be dispiriting, it can be very dismaying, and can cause you to feel sad about the state of affairs in the world. And he wrote this piece as a kind of antidote to that, to kind of bolster people's spirits and souls and help them to remember that things can be positive in this world, and there is goodness, and there is ways that we can overcome the things that stifle us or that trouble us. And so I hope that this work will do that for you as well. This is Hope by Stijn Eergeerts. things about the brass band tradition that's so unique is that they not only give concerts, but they also enjoy preparing for and attending competitions between brass bands, trying to sort out which town has the best band and which, sort of bragging rights sort of things. One of the traditions that they have over in the UK, which we were very fortunate to experience in 2009, is a thing called the Whit Friday Marches. So there's a holiday in England that takes place around the end of May or early June, depending on the calendar, and it's Whit Sunday. And then the Friday after that is Whit Friday. And there's been a centuries-old traditions of people going outside of the towns for walks on Whit Friday. It's the Whit Friday walks. Well, when brass bands started to come around, they wanted to get in on the action, and they said, well, let's have brass bands be part of this walking out into the countryside and participating in the holiday. And that turned into some band contests. So there is now a tradition where there's a whole string of little villages outside the city of Manchester, about a dozen of them or so, all strung out a couple miles apart from each other through this long river valley. And they all host a brass band contest on the same day, each town. And literally hundreds of bands from all over the UK will drive from wherever they are to these contests. And the way it works is usually they're on a bus, right? Or maybe a group of cars, but we'll say they're on a bus. And you drive to the edge of town where, these tiny villages, the streets are so narrow you can't even drive a bus right into the center of town. So you park at the edge of town. You get off and you say, I'd like to be part of your band contest. And they say, okay, pay your fee, £5 or whatever it is. Go wait over there, you're band number 4. And then you wait your turn, and then they say, okay, it's time for band number 4. And they march down to the center of town, and then somewhere hidden in the vicinity is a judge. You don't know where they are. They could be in a tent or in a nearby building with an open window, somewhere where they can hear, but they can't see the bands. The British, being super objective, want to remove any trace of favoritism. So they don't identify the bands. They just say, this is band number 4. And then they play their song, and as soon as they're done, they run back to the edge of town, hop on the bus, drive down the road to the next town, and do it all over again. The goal being to try to play in as many towns in the day as you possibly can. I think when we did there, we got around to 6 contests before time ran out, or it started snowing or something. I'm not sure. It was this summer in England, But anyway, it's tremendous fun, and it's a great brass band tradition. This next piece that we're going to play for you is not exactly a march, but it kind of has a British nautical feel to it, so it's sort of related. It's a unique take on "Let the Bells Ring." That's the title of the piece. It's a unique take on the Ukrainian bell carol. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. So enjoy this brass band take on the Carol of the Bells. We like to represent the British traditions in our performances. Another British tradition that's very prevalent at this time of year is the worldwide radio broadcast of a festival of 9 lessons and carols from King's College in Cambridge, England. I see some of you nodding. Maybe this is something that you enjoy listening. It is broadcast on the radio. I think WFMT, if I'm not mistaken, will broadcast that. I believe it's 9 a.m. on December 24th. But British choirs, as you probably know, are some of the finest in the world. And many of their choirs use, for the soprano section, not women, but actually young boys whose voices haven't changed, boy sopranos. And they have a long, long history of men and boy choirs creating just this incredibly beautiful sound in these cavernous, cathedral-like spaces, particularly at the King's College Chapel in Cambridge, England. And since, I think, the time of World War I at least, they've been doing this festival on December 24th. And it's always a very interesting mix of carols that are both old and familiar, and also things that are usually they commission a few new ones each year. And sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't. But it's always interesting to hear what they come up with. Speaking of carols, we have a Christmas sing-along for you. This is a really new arrangement by a British composer who's now living and working in this country, Andrew Wainwright. And I think his settings are interesting and different, the way that he accompanies the melodies for the carol. The words are in your program, so you're welcome to sing along if you would like, but you're also welcome to just enjoy the accompaniment music because it's really interesting and different. I hope you enjoy this, and I will turn around and cue you when it's time to sing. So the instruments that we use in the brass band may look fairly similar to things that you might find in an orchestra or a concert band, but there are some differences, so I'd like to just briefly introduce you to the members of the brass band. First of all, we have in the back, we have our three percussionists who are running around and playing all sorts of different instruments in the back of the band. And then we have tubas. The brass band actually uses two different keys of tuba. We have both B flat and E flat tubas. There's a B flat on the left and E flat on the right. You can see they're slightly different sizes. Over here is our trombone section. These are pretty familiar to you from other settings, but we've got our two tenor trombones and a bass trombone right there. And then we have our euphonium section. This is a lovely tenor-voiced soloing instrument. And right next to them we have some instruments that start to give the brass band its unique sound and color. We have the baritone horns. They play in the same range as the euphonium, but a slightly different color and sound. And it's very unique and kind of special to the brass band. Then we don't use the circular French horns that you find in an orchestra. Instead, we have our E-flat tenor horns right here. And then next to them, we have our flugelhorn that Bridget's holding up, another lovely solo instrument for the top half of the band. And then we don't use trumpets in the brass band. These are cornets. So we have our B-flat cornets here, and then way up at the top is our little tiny baby E-flat soprano cornet, the piccolo of the brass band. Yes. Thank you, Mark. We're going to feature one of our performers right now in another piece by Peter Graham. This is a selection that's from a larger work that he wrote, but this movement is called A Time for Peace. And to perform it for you is one of our esteemed cornet soloists. Will you please welcome Andy Malavance to the stage. In the late 19th century, the French composer Georges Bizet wrote incidental music for a play that was being produced in France at the time called L'Arlésienne, the Girl from Arles, city in southern France. And to set this music, he chose a medieval French carol, French Christmas carol, the March of the Kings. And this has become a famous work in ballet and orchestral music around the world. We'd like to perform this piece for you now, the very lively dance, the farandole. We have one final selection to play for you today, and but it's just been a delight for us to share this afternoon of music with you. Thank you so much for coming out to hear us perform. I would invite you to check out our website and our social media platforms to keep in touch with us and find us when we're doing other concerts in the area. We would love to see you at another performance by the Chicago Brass Band in the very near future. In the meantime, happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy yourselves and be well until the next time we meet. Thank you so much.
R&B special. What a performance. Well, like I mentioned at the beginning of the concert, this was our grand finale to wrap up this year's Note for Note concert series, which is, it's the end, but what a way to finish it. On the bright side, we do have some good news. As I mentioned again, the Highland Park Community Foundation we'll be funding another round of concerts coming up. So the best way to find out when, where, who, and everything else is for you to sign up for our newsletter so you can get the latest news on programs, events, and everything library related. And one last thing that I'd like to mention is that library, maybe some of you know, we are considering an expansion project, and that will be also coming up. There is a webpage in which you can go and find out more information, and that is reimaginehppl.info. Now that information, you can find it at the entrance. You'll see some big printouts with some graphics, so you can find the information there, or talk to one of our service desk, and they can tell you more about it. So we're really excited to be able to then have a space in which this type of programs can continue, and for all of you to be part of it and enjoy it, because what a great way to spend your afternoon and listening to some great music, and also becoming coming together as a community. So once again, thank you so much for coming over all this for the previous concerts, and thank you again to the Chicago Brass Band. And let's hear it one more time. Thank you so much. Ask you to consider. We have some of these surveys. If you can please fill them out. Tell us how much you love this concert. Tell us what other music you would like to hear. There's a QR code that you can use and do it online, or you can fill it out and give it to one of our colleagues here at the Public Services Desk. Otherwise, have a great afternoon, and thank you again.
Thank you again.